Hi, shalom friends. If I asked you to think of a Jewish symbol, a symbol of the Jewish people, and one that would have universal acknowledgement, which symbol would you come up with? Almost all people recognize the Mogen David, or what they call the Star of David. But interesting enough, the Star of David has no biblical origin. In fact, whether the Star of David is actually a Jewish invention remains a moot question, more connected to academia, because since the State of Israel and the Zionist movement, it has become synonymous. The Star of David is on the flag of Israel. Israel are the Jewish people. So hence, if a person identifies with the Star of David, he's identifying with the Jewish people. But interesting enough, Gershon Sholem, who was a great authority on mysticism and on Kabbalah, though not terribly observant, he was the head of Hebrew University. He wrote a treatise explaining and proving that the Star of David is actually not authentically Jewish, because in medieval churches there are some pictures of the Star of David, and clearly over there it's only used as something of decorative. It's only in the mid-1600s where we find the Star of David being used as a seal of a Jewish community in Bohemia, and it's only in the late 1800s where it becomes very popular. But again, it really is not what I would like to share with you today, whether or not the Star of David is an authentic Jewish symbol or it has been accepted as a Jewish symbol. Instead, I would like you to put on your thinking caps and ask you personally, if you went through the Bible, the Chumash and Tanakh, and I asked you to design some type of a symbol that would exemplify the Jewish people, what would you use? Well, in the Bible, there's the image of a lion. Judah is a lion's cub, or they call the Lion of David, and that would be beautiful. It brings out courage and initiative and strength and bravery. But the argument would be, but that's primarily the tribe of Judah. Say, well, how about the shofar or the lulav and etrog? And we say these are authentically Jewish symbols, but they're connected to a holiday. Well, how about tefillin? Or maybe 2 candles that the women light on the Shabbat. And again, that's a mitzvah. It would talk to the men that put on tefillin and to those that light the candles. So what could we find that would be authentically Jewish? To find a symbol of someone giving bread to the hungry or clothing the naked, though that is in our tradition, yet it's not limited to Jewish people. All people would respond to that picture that exemplifies kindness. So I will share with you 2 symbols, but concentrate on one. The tablets, the 10 Commandments, written on stone. That applies to all Jews at all times, in all places. And the menorah. Why the menorah? Well, the menorah was a gold candelabra. It was approximately 5 feet tall, pure gold, magnificent, ornate, artistic, and it had 7 lamps. In other words, the priest would light 7 lamps. Each one of them was a cup filled with oil and a wick, and he would light it once a day, according to some, twice a day in the temple. Why a menorah as a symbol? Well, first of all, the Jewish people are to be a light amongst the nations. What could be better than a golden candelabra that sheds light? And it's a holy light. It's in the temple. Why the number 7? Well, obviously there are 7 days of the week, but the mystics teach us that actually the 7 symbolizes diversity. Yes, I know that's a buzzword in the 21st century. Diversity. 7 personality types. According to the mystics, there are 7 sefirot, and each personality type exemplifies and demonstrates one of them. So, for example, there are certain people that are inclined to be generous, to be kind. They're more loving. There are those that are more naturally inclined to be judgmental. They're more stern, more reserved. They're more connected to gevura, strength. There are those that are more authoritative. They have more leadership qualities. They're more connected to kingship, and so on and so forth. The menorah acknowledges that not all Jews have the same personality tendencies. Some are inclined to the right, some to the left, some to the middle, some are beautiful, Tiferet. But they are all joined in the middle. For those of you that have seen pictures and depictions of this, of the golden menorah, would see a central shaft, and from the central shaft, 3 diagonals coming from the right, 3 diagonals coming from the left, and for a total of 7, because the middle shaft has its own cup. And interesting enough, they're all on the same level. So the lamp that's lit on the right, the lamp that's lit in the left, the lamp in the middle, all of them are of the same equal height. Now, if you had to think of a symbol of the Jewish nation, could there be anything more appropriate? The acknowledgement that as different as we might be, we're centrally connected. We're part of one menorah. We're part of one collective being. Which leads me to the question, why did they pick, or why is the Star of David the universal symbol? There have been interpretations given. 2 triangles. One triangle symbolizes the Jewish people, Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. Another triangle is God, Torah, and the land of Israel, and they're together, 2 triangles together. And then there are some mystical readings into this, that perhaps there are 6 directions. There's east, west, north, and south, up and down. And then, of course, the central point, the number 7 again. And that somehow symbolizes the Jewish people in every direction being directed to God and physically being dispersed in all places. Perhaps, or perhaps we're just reading into it. But I would say, and I say this with tongue in cheek, I don't want you to get offended, but I say this with a touch of bitter humor. You know why I think it's been chosen in contrast to the menorah? Because I look at the Star of David and I see 6 directions. I see the Jewish nation going in different directions. Here we are intertwined, 2 triangles. But instead of the diversity being reflected in a deep respect towards one another, it's one point is going to this direction, another point in a different direction. In contrast to the menorah, where you could have one lamp on the right and then one lamp to the west of that, far in distance, but yet it's on the same level. And yet it is clear that there's a deep inner bond between them. Why is it so difficult to pick a menorah to symbolize diversity and unity? Why is that more difficult to choose as an emblem than the Star of David, which seems to emphasize a strange type of a unity. Two things inverted, opposites, with its points going in different directions. Again, a thought to share. We are taught that the menorah was actually made from one sum of gold. It's very hard to imagine this, but Moses was told to take gold and smelt it from one piece, to take one lump and to actually make it hot, make it soft, and from the soft gold to fashion out the design. Instead of taking pieces and adding one to another, it had to be made from one design. So imagine to yourself, instead of gold, a piece of clay. And I tell you, make a menorah from the clay without adding any additional clay. So basically, you have to manipulate it, you have to knead it, you have to pummel it, you have to make it first into a ball, and then squeeze here, squeeze there, until you get the form of a menorah. When you're squeezing, you know what you're actually doing? You're taking from the top, putting it to the bottom to the top. Essentially, you're saying there is no top and bottom. The gold menorah was fashioned from one lump. And if you could imagine Moshe taking a hammer and hammering out a shape, that means that pieces of gold that might have been in one direction found themselves being hammered into a different direction. That's the secret of unity. The secret of unity is to understand that I'm not the wisest. I am not the smartest. I am not 100% right. And if I am, that doesn't preclude someone else having a 100% correct opinion. Humility is a prerequisite for unity. The menorah was fashioned in a way where with each bang of the hammer, the message was emphasized. You are not on the top. You might be in the middle, you might be on the bottom, but you will be part of this design that will come. So, two symbols of unity. The menorah, 7 branches, not each one, it's not one large flame, 7 distinct different flames, but all on the same level, because they're all fashioned from the same lump of gold, because they went through the purifying process of understanding the value and appreciating the other. 6 points going in different directions? Hard to see the unity. So I'm not here to tell you not to wave the flag. What I'm here to suggest is that if you have to design your own emblem, your own Jewish symbol, I would suggest that on your flag you have the 10 Commandments on one side and the menorah on the other side. 2 universal pictures of Jewish continuity, Jewish unity, and Jewish pride and greatness. Good luck in your design.